This is Live Life Love. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Live Life Love podcast. Here we are all about living a life you love and living your life full of love. So today's topic is all about money, making money, and more so how to avoid being scammed by people who tell you they will help you make money fast and easy. And I think most people, not everybody, I think some people are comfortable where they are with how much money they make, but most people do want to make more money at some point in their life, especially when you consider how many people are underpaid, especially in the US. So, yeah. And, I think also there's a lot of selling of luxury and a luxurious lifestyle that makes people feel like they don't have enough, because so much of what we see online from influencers, these are pretty wealthy people. These are people who are being given a lot of things for free that can cause a lot of envy and wanting. But, there are other people who don't even have enough as is, and financial stability might feel impossible, especially when you consider how much debt there is. Pretty much everybody is in debt these days. I mean, the US has a huge wealth disparity, and it's not just the US. You see those wealth disparities in other places too, especially like least developed countries, or, countries where there's like a lot of power struggle and whatnot. So financial independence, getting and staying out of debt, these are all reasonable and good goals to have to live a life you love. But obviously, I think there's also something to be said about enjoying what you have if you do have enough. But, everybody is not in the same place. And if you have a job that pays well and makes you happy, I would say you're incredibly lucky. And that is a great place to be. And even if you don't love your job, if you like your job, that can still be a really, really great place to be and something to be really grateful for. But if you do not, then you have probably thought about ways that you can make more money. And I think today, the idea of having a side hustle, or almost like you need a side hustle, which not everybody does need, I will say. You can be happy with what you have, but, there are a lot of things. I've seen a lot of content out there of, here are a bunch of side hustles where you can make a lot of money. Side hustles are actually how I started audiobook narration, because I was seeing a reel on Instagram about different side hustles, and this was a long time ago, just for reference. And someone was like, oh, you can just record an audiobook and upload it to this website. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something I would really enjoy, and sounds like something that really aligns with my interests and hobbies. So I looked into it more. And no, you cannot just sit down at your computer and record an audiobook. That was kind of the first lie that I was faced with of, no, this isn't something that's super easy. It takes a lot of work to produce a finished chapter of an audiobook. And there was so much startup cost just to, get a microphone. I have a little studio that I built, and, I have my audio interface and my recording software, and it all just really adds up. And right now, audiobook narration is not at all a side hustle for me. It is completely a hobby, because I am making essentially $0. And I think there are a lot of things that social media pushes, or they try to capitalize on people's desire to make more money, to push things on people as this is how you make money. I will help you make this money. But usually once you get there, there's some kind of catch. You have to pay $3,000 to take my course to be able to make that money. I think that, like Andrew Tate, he had a course, how to make money, and it was just, become a sex trafficker or whatever. Honestly, a horrible person. I don't really need to go on that side tangent right now, but there are a lot of these pay-to-play kind of, I would call them scams. I mean, yes, you're probably going to learn something, and maybe you're more likely to follow through with it if you make that financial investment. And these influencers are, they're trying to sell this course, but really all the information that they're going to give you in that course is probably widely available online. And a lot of the most popular side hustles that are pushed on the internet have become very oversaturated. Audiobook narration for sure has. I'm on ACX, which is like a platform where I submit the audio, like my auditions and whatnot, and I have my profile and everything. And, sometimes you can kind of listen to other people's samples, and a lot of them are not to be like critical, but they're just not good. They're not high quality audio recordings. They're just these poor recordings that are just kind of flooding the market and making it harder for people who are genuinely interested. And I mean, I'm not saying you have to be trained in performing or anything like that to do it, but, people who maybe, it's like a real interest and not something that they're just trying to make money on. And I think you also have to be careful because a lot of these quick and easy ways to make money that you see online, there's usually some kind of sort of unethical component to it. Sometimes, like for example, drop shipping. I remember when that was a big thing, like buying up stock of essentially items from a warehouse like AliExpress or something and listing it on Amazon or other places to then sell to people. So you're essentially just selling junk that was probably made and created for these super cheap prices. I mean, there's not really any passion there. It's a pretty empty business model, I guess you could say. And I don't think if you're only after wealth, maybe stepping on whoever to get there sounds like a good idea to you. I don't know. But I have to. I feel like it is my moral responsibility to encourage people to really ask yourself if you need that wealthy lifestyle, because often there's a lot of joy and happiness to be found where you are now. And I think if you go after, chasing that wealth, they say money can't buy happiness, but, you do need a certain amount of money to have a stability to be happy. But once you have that stability, I think there is a lot of happiness and satisfaction that can be found there. And I also just want to mention another thing to stay away from are multi-level marketing schemes. If you hear language like work your way up in the company, or you have to invest some sort of amount of your money, it really seems like people are trying to sell you an opportunity. If it's not someone that you're really close to, and maybe they're starting their own business and that's super exciting and something that you can get onto, but if someone is trying to sell you an opportunity and you don't know them that well, there is probably something in it for them. And maybe that is a bleak way to view other people, but I think it's important that we have that level of discernment as we are navigating the world and trying to live the best lives that we can and doing things that don't take advantage of other people and, that we don't have to pay money to just get free information from some kind of influencer on is the ideal. And unfortunately, I don't know. I can't tell you of a way to make money fast and easy ethically. A lot of the ways to make that money are too good to be true, or there's some kind of dark underside of manipulation, taking advantage of people. And usually the easy part is also a scam. There's some sort of level of hard work to get wherever it is, even if eventually it becomes easy, there's that initial hard work to get to that easier side. And honestly, if someone is making money fast and easy, I doubt they are going to be broadcasting that to the world, because if they make money that way, they don't want other people making that money that way too. And if it is a limited opportunity that not everybody can do, because they don't want to saturate that market. So maybe that's a little bit of a rude wake-up call that, there's probably not a good way to make money fast and easy. And I think that speaks a lot to our society, especially in the United States, as, you have to work hard. Anybody who has a ridiculous amount of wealth, probably, money doesn't come out of nowhere. Like someone else is paying someone to, get whatever it is that they are selling. So unless you are like selling to corporations, if you are taking money from everyday, regular people and selling them something that they don't need, I think there is like an ethical concern there still. So if you want money fast and easy, and it is necessary to support a family, if you make really, I feel like I can't even say if you make this amount or that amount, just simply because it's so different depending on where you live. I live in the DC area. It is very expensive to live here. I honestly don't think you could survive on $50K per year or less, especially to support a family here. But decide what is comfortable for you and reasonable for you as a money goal, and make sure that you are living about your means and not sometimes, if you're making a certain amount, you spend all the way up to that amount because you have that money instead of just living about what you need, because so many things are pushed on us. There's so many ways to spend money these days that didn't even exist 10, 20 years ago. And I do think there is that idea of not being grateful for what you have. But if you do want to make money because you don't have enough, or you want more freedom in your life from whatever you do now, or you want the freedom to be able to retire early or enjoy your life more, which I think is totally reasonable, then I think the best way, and this is not the best answer, but the best way to make that money is to find a job that you'll thrive in. And, I think when you are in a job that you thrive in, you will be more likely to work hard and move up in that business and be able to make that money you want. You kind of have to go all in. You can't go halfway. If you're going to start a side hustle, it's going to start out with making you zero money for a while before you actually start bringing in that money, most likely. And honestly, if you find a job that you thrive in, you might find that that is enough to feel satisfied in life. And so if there is something that you're interested in, I encourage you to chase that if you want to make money. But I also think there is a lot of pressure to make more money when people don't necessarily need to. Like, there is nothing wrong with a 9-to-5. It might not be the most glamorous life or, the most perfect life in the world. But if you can just enjoy life and not be so worried about making money all the time and have that stability of a regular job, that is also a wonderful life path. But if you find a job that you thrive in, that you really, really love, that you can invest a lot of time in, that you feel you're actually making strides on, and, that is the way you want to spend your life, because ultimately your job is where you spend most of your life, then I think you end up living that life that you love. Or even just taking a step back and recognizing, my life is not so bad. I might not have the perfect shiny car or the fancy jewelry that I see all these influencers having, but I have myself, I have stability, and that can be enough. But with so many jobs without livable wages, those do make it hard. And that is where, if you are going to build something, you want to build something where anybody that you're employing is paid well and has a livable wage as well. So it's a very complicated topic of making money. And, if you are looking for inspiration for jobs, you can look up jobs that are going to be around, what the internet says are the next best jobs, and you don't always need a college degree. You can really thrive. It's about what's best for you, and you can make money in things like trades, like plumbing and electricians, or even, working your way up in sales. Usually you don't need a college degree for that. I think really once you figure out what you want to do with your life, you should chase that with your whole heart so that you can live a life that you thrive in and hope that the money flows. Which maybe isn't the best advice, but I think when you invest yourself into something, you can really see that money come back, which I know is not always like a privilege for everybody. But if you feel like you can do that, then just go all in and chase those things, and be wary of anybody trying to sell you an opportunity or sell you a course to get an opportunity. Because if you hustle and if you work hard, I really truly believe that you can make your life better. and start having that money that you so desire, even if it does not look like the money that you envision, because sometimes comfort is enough and stability is enough, and not everybody needs wealth, because usually great wealth comes at some kind of morality cost. And obviously, the more money you make, the more good you can do in the world, but also I think that money can go to everybody's head. But that is everything I have on making money and avoiding those fast and easy money scams. If you enjoyed this episode, you can leave me a comment on wherever you're listening, because that's only Apple Podcasts or YouTube. And this week's activity, because I like to have a little bit of an active part of the podcast. So this week's activity is looking at your life, looking at your finances, and deciding, am I comfortable here, or do I need to make more to support myself and my family? Or, you probably already know that, but maybe make an assessment of whether you are living your life within your means, and if you can really look at that and try to pick some things that you can be grateful for within that. But thank you so much. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Live Life Love podcast. As always, please share this episode with your friends and family. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Live Life Love Pod, or visit the website livelifelovepodcast.com. You can find past episodes wherever you like to listen, and new episodes come out every Tuesday. Have a great day.